Happy Monday. Welcome to another reading vlog. So, I started... What did I start? No, I didn't start a book today. I finished a book today. I finished Wild by Jill Barnett. This is the cover, and this is the very pretty, beautiful step back. Okay, so I actually started this on Friday at work, and I finished it today at work. Audiobook, obviously. So, this is a medieval, which I realized that I really liked medieval last year. I read 2 medievals, and I adored both of them. I gave them both 5 stars. So I was like, maybe medieval's my new favorite time period, Not that it's one time period. It's a very large time period. So, this is set in... Oh, the 12th? This feels like it's probably before the 1200s. Let's see. Oh, it's 1280. So this is in the 1200s, 1280. Okay, so, setup of this. Our heroine, Teleri, is a Welsh woman who is very much like, she lives in the forest. She's like basically a woodland fae person. She's very like... believes that the plants and she's super naturey, super plantsy. She rescues a lot of injured animals. She's kind of a Disney princess. Like, just very, very much like, flowers are amazing in the air and the sky, and she, like, might be a witch, like, a little bit. Like, just a smidge. And so she grew up in this forest, and all of the, like, local townspeople think that she's a witch. And so she stays away from humans by and large. Our hero, Roger, is a knight. His father is a baron who hates him, we find out. He has recently had his heart broken because he was in a relationship with a woman whose husband was believed dead, and then recently he turns out he was not dead. He was like being ransomed, and so he comes back and she breaks it off and he is crushed. So it turns out this is the second book in the series, which I cannot remember the name of, and I'll put it in the link, or put it down there. So in the first book, the hero of that book, who shows up in this because Roger and that guy and another dude were friends, Merrick, Roger, and Edward, I think, are the lead guys of these books. So Merrick's wife just decides to leave the castle, and she, like, disguises this prized horse in order to do so, and she gets captured, and the horse escapes and is, like, allegedly taken by this horse thief that Roger chases but loses. So don't worry, Merrick's wife is fine. It's all good. So anyway, when he has been, if after this affair has happened, after it's fallen apart, the king decides to send him basically on a fetch quest job to, like, spread him and the white woman's husband as far away from each other as possible so he doesn't have to deal with it. And so he's, like, back in Merrick's region, and he sees that the horse thief, who is Teleri, and so he takes off after her. So there's like a bit of a chase, and she loses him in the woods, where he gets ambushed by a guy who he doesn't see, but who, like, tries to hang him to death. And it doesn't work, but he's, like, laying there, like, dying, basically, from wounds, etc. And Teleri comes across him and is like, well, I can't just leave him. She is Welsh, so obviously she's pretty distrusting of the English, particularly this guy who's chased her twice with this horse. But she's like, well, I can't leave him. So she takes him back to her house and heals his wounds, and then he wakes up, and they're very distrusting of each other, and then they are less distrusting of each other. So I think 2 things here. I did like this book. I'm gonna give it probably a 3.5. And I'm probably gonna hold on to it. And the reason for that is, I think the audio narrator I didn't hate, but I think that if I had read it physically, I probably would have vibed with it a little bit more. And also, This was a case of misplaced expectations in terms of the fact that I think I thought that medievals were always more high drama and higher stakes, and despite the fact that there is this slight romantic suspense / mystery in the background of like who was trying to kill Roger, that is not what this book is about, really. It comes back in like the very end of the book. And so it's mostly him hanging out in the woods with this hot woman who hugs trees and is a vegan. Yeah, I was kind of shook. It's like a medieval vegan, because she doesn't believe in killing animals. She can't eat anything with a face. So, Peta would love this. But, look, I was vegan once. I'm not trying to mock the vegans. But, yeah, this was, I thought they were, like, remarkably very sweet together. This has, like, a bit of a fairy tale quality to it. Also a bit of a Disney movie quality with way more sex. Oh, yeah, they get down in this book. And wasn't mad about it. So, yeah, this was really fun. And I think if you are interested in medieval, like, this is not a bodice ripper at all, even though it came out before 2000. It's very woodsy and like kind of romantic and pastoral. And one of the really fun parts of the book is that Roger, like, when he realizes that he is like in love with her, which happens probably around halfway-ish through the book, he's really, like, he's so defensive of her, and he's so chivalrous, you know, because he's a knight! He has to be! But yeah, there's this great scene where he, like, defends her from all of the town people and stuff like that, and it's really, really delightful. And then they end up going back to his home for a bit, and there's a lot of shenanigans with his family, including a scene with his mom that I loved dearly. It involves shoes, and that is all I will say. It was great. Yeah, this was very cute. Again, I think this probably it's probably closer to a 4. I don't know. I'm between a 3.5 and a 4. But yeah. It is a peacock on the cover. I'm sorry. This cover is gorgeous. It's like raised too, and it's got this like gorgeous step back. So like, how could I not? So yeah, excited that I read this. Very excited I read it. And yeah, I'm gonna hold on to it. This is my only Jill Barnett, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, if I come across the other two, I might snatch them up. And I have begun a bit of a like secret project, which you will probably be able to figure out soon enough. But I started yesterday Marriage Deal with the Devilish Duke by Millie Adams. And Regency compromised into marriage. He's got deep, broody secrets, and she hasn't been anywhere. And I am having a great time with it so far. And I probably won't get a lot into the details about it, but yes, having a fun time right now. So yeah, that is me currently. Not sure what I'm gonna read for the rest of the week at work, but we'll see when we see. So I will talk to you all later. Bye! Hello! Welcome to January 19th. So I got sick last week, like fever, chills, sleeping all day, and forcing myself to eat calories because I didn't feel hungry. I did drink lots of water, broke the fever over the weekend, etc. Took a day off of work because I was feeling so bad. So, yeah, you know when you feel like too exhausted to read? So, that's why I didn't film for like the back half of the week. I meant to, but life and my body were like, no, you don't get to. Okay, so let's update before catastrophe struck. I did actually finish some books. I realized that I forgot to tell you what I read over the weekend, which was A Woman Entangled by Cecilia Grant. So this is the third book in the Black Shear series, by Cecilia Grant. This was actually her only series. I don't know why she did not continue, but she had one story or one series in her, and that was it. So I've read the first two. I read this one, and then there is a sort of prequel, like tie-in novella situation that I want to read later in the year. So this is about Kate Westbrook, who is beautiful, the most beautiful woman ever, and everyone knows she's beautiful. And what happened is that her father, I believe, was like in the family of like an earl, basically, and then he married an actress, and so his family disowned them. So they have been like upper middle class since, and she basically wants to use her incredible good looks to land a aristocrat so that she can raise her family's social standing up again. And so her dad is a barrister, I believe, or like head barrister. And so her love interest in this is Will Blackshear, who is a barrister. And his whole deal is that he has been into her for a while. And she's very used to men kind of falling in love with her immediately because she's so beautiful. And so she kind of turned him down or like let him know that she was not interested. So he's been like pretending that he's totally over her. Despite the fact that every time she walks in a room, he's like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. So his whole deal is that in the previous book, his brother, Will Blackshear, this is Nick. So Will Blackshear, in my favorite book of the series, ends up marrying a courtesan. This is not a spoiler. I mean, it is a spoiler, I guess, for that book, I guess, if you thought that the romance between the two people and they wouldn't get together. Anyway, Will's deal is that he is so embarrassed that his brother married a courtesan that he's like disowned them and has kind of hidden this part of his life from a lot of people. So she ends up getting an opportunity to kind of try and reconnect with her aristocratic family, and also gets to go to some social events where she can meet and maybe land an aristocrat. And he has been assigned to like kind of make sure that she's okay there, and also is trying to climb in his political career while keeping this secret about the shame of his brother's marriage. And so this is like, Cecilia Grant is really interesting. I think she writes heroines that are unlikable. Now, I love an unlikable heroine, right? But these women are like kind of prickly. They are not always the most sympathetic in their goals or how they go about them. You do get why they are doing what they are doing, but there is a level of like unapologeticness to what they do that I find really engaging, but can probably be a little bit of a hard sell for a lot of romance readers. But yeah, and this is like, they are both kind of, they bounce back and forth between being really nice to each other and really awful to each other, but they cannot get out of each other's orbit, and you sort of feel that tension between them the whole time, and they just can't stop making out and doing more stuff at these parties, and it's really good, and I love the ending of this with regards to how Nick connects with how Nick deals with his family issues. Really charmed me a lot. So this is not my favorite book in the series. My favorite book is still the second one, which is A Gentleman Undone. One of my favorite books of last year. Probably one of my favorite historical romances of all time. I love that book. But this was still very solid. I would put this probably about on par with the first one, which is A Lady Awakened. So, really good. I would say start with the first book in the series, if you are remotely interested in the Blackshears or Cecilia Grant, and just roll through with these, like, angsty disaster people. I also, for a bit of a secret project, read Marriage Deal with the Devilish Duke by Millie Adams. This is about a young woman who is was very sick as a child with like asthma, and no one knows how to deal with asthma in the 1800s, so her brother's super protective of her and super sheltering, and to the point that she decides to like kind of ruin herself to get married to a friend of hers to like get out of her brother's house, and instead ends up like compromising herself with her brother's best friend, who is like a duke who is kind of scandalous. And then they get married, and it's their marriage of convenience. And it is buck wild. I have a lot of feelings about this, but I will talk about that more in The Secret Project. So, yeah. And finally, we have a banger. We have Duke of My Heart by Kelly Bowen. This is the first book in the season of Scandal series. One of those. Season for Scandal. So, this is about, so our heroine, Ivory Moore, is basically Regency Olivia Pope. She is a fixer, okay? She works in this company called Sugar and Associates. And our hero, Maximus Harcourt, Duke of Aldridge, has a bit of a problem. His sister, on her debut ball, has seemingly tied an earl to her bed, and he seemingly died in compromising circumstances, and she has fully fled, and no one knows where she is. So his aunt calls up Ivory to deal with the whole situation. And Maximus shows up fresh from India commerce and is like, what is going on? Who is this woman? Where is my sister? I want to kick doors down. And Ivory's like, I get your impulse to do that, but you need to do everything that I say, or else your sister's life is completely torched. So, just bottle up those little patriarchal feelings you got and put it in a box, because we got work to do. And, it's great. This was so fun. The plot moves so fast. It's so twisty. She is so, involved in the greater criminal underworld. She knows everyone's dirt. He is so, honorable and good, but he's so ill-suited to deal with the problems here, and it's lovely. This is like a perfect modern historical, right? It brought a huge smile to my face. I was having so much fun, and it's just great. I gave this 5 stars. This is absolutely going to be in my favorites of the year. Delightful book. So much fun. And I feel like Kelly Bowen is not someone that people talk about that much. You know, she's not like Elisa Kleypas or Sarah MacLeod. And I say this without irony. I do think everyone should try this. I think everyone will have fun with it. So, yeah. Loved that. So that's what I read before the illness came down. So now we are in the new week. And we have finished a book. We finished, oh God, what is it called? It's a long title. Cupcakes, Trinkets, and Other Deadly Magic by Meghan Ciana Doidge. So this is the first book in the Dowser Urban Fantasy series. I think this was her first, or at least the first series in this larger urban fantasy world that she's built. And I really enjoyed this. So this is about Jade. She is a witch/baker. And, there's a vampire who shows up and thinks that she's, been killing werewolves. And she's like, I've not been killing werewolves. But she makes these, trinket necklaces and stuff. And these trinkets have been found at the bodies of these werewolves. And she's like, I didn't do that. And then the werewolves show up and they're like, did you do the murders? And she's like, no, I didn't. And then we got to figure out who did the murders. And I had a lot of fun with this. Our heroine definitely is not she doesn't know a ton about the worlds or the power dynamics of things. So she's very much learning along with the reader about how everything works. So I imagine that'll kind of get smoothed out in the later books as like she gets more knowledge, etc. But I had a lot of fun with this. I've like inhaled all of this today. I was like having a ball. And so I really liked this, and I will probably be continuing the series pretty soon. So yeah, I really vibed with this one. And then we have what we are in progress on. So, clearly I wanted to, like, I had my historical week and I was like, all right, we're going to new things. We're not doing historical this week. We'll see how long that lasts. I don't have faith in myself to stay away from historicals for very long. But I have started Shards of Honor by Lois McMaster Bujold. I have this in a bind-up with its, like, kind of sequel. So this is the first published book in the Vorkosigan saga, which is this space opera series that I believe started in the 80s. Might have been a little earlier. So yeah, giant sprawling space opera series. I own a good amount of them at this point, and so I wanted to give them a shot. The first one is definitely more of a romance, which is fun. Our heroine is this captain of this like research vessel situation, which ends up getting attacked by this sort of enemy population, which has a, his name's actually Vorkosigan, and, he ends up taking her hostage, but, like, not super hostagey. It's not super captive. Like, that's not the vibe. It's more like political prisoner, but not even that intense. They end up sort of trekking together for a while, and they start to like each other. And, that's kind of awkward because they're from, like, enemy positions, and how are they going to make that work? So this is very fun so far. I'm having a good time. And I have also started in a completely different direction. I don't know if I would call this middle grade or children's. I'm kind of leaning towards children's right now, for a book club with my like writing group from college. We are reading Time Stops for No Mouse by Michael Hoeye. I'm gonna say Hoeye and not the other way it could be said. It's about it's like a world filled with a bunch of anthropomorphic animals, and our hero Hermix Tantamuk is like a watch fixer / watchmaker, and I think he's gonna get dragged into some like Pulp Fiction-y shenanigans, and it's really adorable right now. I'm having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, we'll get to hear my thoughts on that, I guess, later. So that is the great big update for what happened to me and what I've been reading. And yeah, we'll see what happens later in the week. Bye. Hey everyone, happy Friday. I have read 3 books in the interim, and I thought I should talk about them a little bit. So, I read Vixen and Velvet by Loretta Chase. This is the 3rd book in the Dressmaker series, and this is the step back. Very pretty. Okay, so this is about Leonie Noirot. She is the youngest Noirot sister, probably the most grounded of the group. The Noirots are, how do I put this? They're kind of Machiavellian con artists, but this group of them specifically own a dressmaking shop and run different facets of it. So the heroine of the first book designs the dresses. The heroine of the second book makes like hats and stuff like that. She also works on their publicity illicitly. And Leonie is sort of she likes corsets. She builds corsets, but she also is like the numbers person. She is the accountant, etc., etc. So her other sisters have gotten married now, so she's feeling a little bit lonely, but still trying to keep the business going. And she crosses paths with Simon Blair, a Marquis, and he is immediately very into her, and they're kind of dancing around each other. And then there is Simon has a cousin who is a poet, who makes very kind of sappy poetry, but it's made him he is critically loathed, but very commercially successful. So we get to hear some of his very weepy poetry, and it's hilarious. And so the cousin ends up getting accused of some things which do not seem kosher. Seems a little like the accusation is basically that he fathered a child and abandoned the child. But did he do it? How do we deal with it? This also ends up causing issues for the charity that Leonie's running, so she's invested in it, and Simon's invested in it because them being crossing together is why she was involved with this at all. So he's trying to solve that. And it's really, really fun. The second one is still my favorite in the series, but I did really enjoy this one. I laughed a lot. Loretta Chase is so funny. I don't find her books the swooniest ever, but I think her characters are so fun, and their vibes are so fun, and there's so much tension between them. And I also really love the plots of the last two are very much taking on social scandal and twisting it to fit our characters' goals. And the big sort of grand gesture that our hero makes for a heroine is really good in this one. And there's only one more, and it's about a character who's been a sort of secondary character in all three books. So probably in the summer I'll get to that one. I think it's called Gentlemen Prefer Heiresses, and I'm excited to read that too. But yeah, this was very, very fun. So yes, would recommend. I also finished Time Stops for No Mouse by Michael Hoeye. So this is I don't know if I call this children or middle grade, adventure sort of mystery story about a mouse. This is a world where everyone is an anthropomorphic animal. So our mouse, Hermix Tantamuk, is a watchmaker. He ends up fixing this watch for a client who's an aviator, adventuress. Definitely kind of vaguely maybe 1930s vibes in terms of technology and stuff like that. There are no cell phones in this or anything. No computers. So this sort of aviator adventurous mouse asks him to fix a watch, but then she never comes and picks it up. And he's like, what happened to her? And it turns out a big conspiracy involving the Fountain of Youth and dastardly, plastic surgery machines and a a plastic surgeon who is insane. And an evil makeup mogul, etc., etc. There's a pretty good plot twist in this one as well that I did not clock. This was very fun. I feel like this would make an incredibly, very fun book, or movie. I think this would be a very fun movie. Just watching these little animals get up to shenanigans. It reminded me a little of The Great Mouse Detective, the Disney movie from the 80s, which I adore to pieces. So this was, brought me a lot of smiles. There are three other ones. I don't think I will be continuing the series. I'm a little too old for these, but this is very cute and fun. So, if you've never heard of it, it's a good time. And finally, I did not own this one because I own the audio version of it. I read Orchid by Jayne Castle, i.e. Jane Ann Krentz, i.e. Amanda Quick, i.e. Stephanie James, and I'm missing three. So this is the third and final book in the St. Helens series. This is a sci-fi paranormal romantic suspense. So the setup of the St. Helens world is that basically there was this curtain that lifted a sort of portal between Earth and this other planet. So there was a group of humans that colonized this other planet, but then the curtain fell and everything got shut off. There is no access between Earth and this planet anymore. And also a lot of the Earth materials started to decompose. So this is, I think, 200 years after the curtain fell, and everyone sort of has adjusted to the new planet and how it works. So one of the really fun things about this series overall is hearing about the world of St. Helens, of how things run and like the names of things, and like there's this substance called jelly ice that is sort of a catch-all for a lot of things. It's like fuel, and also sometimes made of like makes locks, and like there's the normal drink is cough tea and not coffee or tea, like just really fun stuff like that. Also, after this veil fell, humans started developing psychic abilities. So everyone has sort of two vectors of psychic abilities. There are people who have like very targeted, specific psychic abilities, like, I don't know, the ability to create like illusions or calculate risk or something like that. And then you have prisms who can basically create these like psychic crystal figures that can focus and channel the like raw psychic talent people. So if you have talent, you measure basically between 1 and 10. All of our heroes are off the scale, and they basically they can like use their power in really brief unfocused bursts, but if they want to do anything meaningful with it, they need a prism to focus for them. And prisms also have a scale that our heroines don't really fit on. So that is sort of the big setup. Also, there's like arranged marriages or like the norm here, matchmaking, and like their matchmaking companies and stuff like that. So that's like all the fun, goofy world stuff happening. And then we have Orchid Adams, who is a romance novelist and also part-time prism for hire, and Rafe Stonebreaker, who is a businessman who has, I believe it's the strat talent, which is considered like primitive and raw and not advanced. And so it is about them. He wants to get married because he wants to hostile take over his grandfather's company away from his cousin, and his grandfather also wants this to happen. And so he needs to get married to do that for respectability, etc., etc. And he is shocked that the woman he wants is like very good at prisming. And, like, her prism works really well for him, but she doesn't really like any of the things he likes. She finds his poetry, like, tacky, and he's like, excuse me, why? And so, she is an ice prism, which is a very special, fun type of prism. They can do extra manipulation of their prisms, etc. And, a fellow ice prism that she knows ends up dying under mysterious circumstances. There is a ancient alien artifact that's gone missing that is maybe connected to this, and he is hired to find the artifact, and when it's clear that her like friend who has died under strange circumstances is also linked to it, she wants to find out what happened. So he wants to solve it on his own because he works better alone and it's dangerous, and she's like, no, I'm joining you. Or I can just do it on my own. And he's like, yeah, fine, you're joining me. So, yeah, this series is so much fun. Like, it's just so bright and sparkling and charming. Again, another thing I wish was a movie because they are so much fun. And they're pretty sexy, and they're just so cute together, and it's so fun. It's such a good time. Also, these have such delightful ending, like, action set pieces that are incredibly cinematic and just great. Like, this series is so much fun, and it's, like, kind of lost to time a little bit. Like, you can access it, but, you know, these aren't really books people talk about. And I just wanted to let you know that St. Helens by Jayne Castle slaps. It's really, really fun. Delightful stuff. So that was my... I guess this is 2 weeks, because I'm going to call it here. I might finish a book over the weekend, but if so, I'll roll that into the next one. So yeah, lots of historical romance. Is anyone surprised? Yeah, that's about it. Thank you all for watching, and I will talk to you later. Bye!